The SportKa over the years has become a staple of European car culture thanks to its accessibility, a great price point, and an excellent fuel mileage, paired with a bold new age X styling. Over all those 12 years of the car's production, a range of special editions, oddball concepts, and even more strange things accumulated. Mostly because the car's platform was deemed so versatile by Ford that they wanted to develop a separate, affordable brand based on it. Well, today we'll cover most of these concepts and editions. The StreetKa will be covered as well. Before we start, keep in mind that a large portion of the information is quite vague, so if you have one, or you know something that I didn't mention, feel free to write it in the comments. The special editions of the car were abundant. Quite literally, there's everything ranging from winter sports oriented builds to interior color specific editions. But before that, let's go one special trim, the Ford SportKa. It had a sporty body kit with 16-inch wheels, which arguably looks really neat, as well as some noticeable performance upgrades. The car packs a punch with a 94 horsepower 1.6 liter Duratec, the same one you would find in a StreetKa. The car was also involved in a marketing controversy. In 2003, two advertisements were created with the SportKa. The advertisement includes a pigeon getting bludgeoned by the SportKa's hood. The advertisement received complaints from the Royal Pigeon Racing Association, however Ford refused to take the ad down. Furthermore, Ford didn't stop there. The next ad involved, a cat getting beheaded by its sunroof. That one was not released to the public, although it has been leaked, and the whole Evil Twin campaign was shut down. The Ka Millennium Edition. This edition was also present in two other cars, the Ford Focus and the Ford Puma. They were all released at the turn of the millennia, and all of them had the Millennium yellow paint. Only 1,000 of each were produced. Apparently the design was really positively acclaimed by the British Design Council, and it was named a product of the millennia. The Ka Sun Collection. It was a variation of the Ka Collection trim level, featuring, well, a sunroof. The Ka Sublime. The Sublime model featured a special leather interior, features not found on other models. It was produced in only very small numbers and is now one of the most sought after cars. It was a UK market only model and it was produced for a really short time. The Ka Student. There's too little information on it, so I couldn't make out whether it was a trim level or a special edition, but nonetheless it was a package oriented for student drivers as a first car. It was only sold in Germany. The Ka Summer Edition. This is probably one of the most obscure ones on this list in terms of information. Despite scouring through countless brochures, I have barely found any information. But most likely, since it was sold in the last years of the car's production run, in 2007, it was a marketing attempt at making the car more attractive to customers. It just offered an AC which, well, yes, could be useful in the summer. The Ford Ka van conversions. As was done with pretty much any European hatchback in that era, the Ka had a rather rare van conversion option. The Ka van was exclusive to the UK market. It was mostly produced for BT Group, a British telecommunications company. It seems like it was also available to the public, judging by this brochure, the Ford Ka Lufthansa edition. Indeed, a collaboration between Ford and Lufthansa. 3,000 units were produced. It seems like in no way it was made for pilots of the airline, because if a pilot was to buy a Ford product of the era, the car would most definitely be one of their last choices. The exterior was of an ordinary car, however, the interior was designed to resemble a Lufthansa interior, with this grey leather and yellow seat piping. The Ford Ka Step 1. Wow. This one really boggled my mind, because arguably it is the craziest entry on this list, really. It looks like an alien tried to recreate something that humans call cars. Despite finding zero information, I can myself propose that it was built for hypermiling. The Ford Ka Finale. The Ford Ka Finale was released at the very end of the car's production run. The Finale had a checkered flag painted roof and a small spoiler above the rear window. It had various checkered flag accents around the interior as well, including this plaque on the dashboard. The StreetKa. This is not a special edition or something, but a separate model worth covering, which was a cabriolet version of the car. It had a manually folding soft top. The StreetKa had superior quality to the car because it was produced by Pininfarina in Italy. It had also fixed some of the car's largest weaknesses, like StreetKa First Edition. The first edition was a special launch trim for the car. It is rather rare, with only one taxed in the UK, and that's in 2019. There is however quite a few listings for it on Autoscout. They all had a lot of equipment included by standard, like ABS and twin airbags. The StreetKa Winter Edition. This edition was limited to 500 units, and its key feature was a detachable hardtop, making it more usable for winter months in some countries. It also had heated leather seats. There is also an ambiguous name for an Ice edition, but it seems just to be this shade of blue for the winter edition. The StreetKa Red edition. This edition was also limited to 500 units. It was an edition with an exclusive red leather interior, and it was available in 3 metallic exterior colors. The fourth StreetKa Thunderbirds promo. For the new Thunderbirds movie in 2004, a concept of a rather odd-looking Ford Thunderbird was created, paying homage to the original car from the series. And to commemorate the release of the movie, 8 pink StreetKas were produced, 5 right-hand drive and 3 left-hand drive. The SportKa Colani. Works of the German designer Luigi Colani were interesting to say the least. He based everything off rounded and unconventional shapes like this. Here are some of his works. And yes, his profile was quite versatile, ranging from television sets and chairs to truck concepts for Mercedes-Benz and even Ferraris. During his lifetime, he managed to design a surprisingly awesome Ford car. It was a bit over the top, just as all of his works, but this one looked quite remarkable. It has definitely become reminiscent of a super hot hatch like a Clio V6, however, the car did not have any performance upgrades. Only 200 units were built, and they sometimes show up on sale for a reasonably large sum. Now that we have covered pretty much all the special editions that I could find, let's get to the concepts. The original proposals for the SportKa. When a car is being designed, usually there are a few proposals, and only one, the most positively acclaimed design, makes it to the production line. Let's examine the Ka's proposals. There were 2 of them. First of all, we have this blob which completely overshot the new age blob styling in attempts at making something extremely futuristic. It is definitely something, and it reminds me of the Toyota real thing. And the Nissan Micra released about the same time clearly reminds me of it. It was definitely a bit too crazy for production. Then we had a slightly tamer variant, but I wouldn't say it was production worthy either. Then in 1994, a derivative of the second concept was made, and it definitely looked more production ready. Notice the circle-like backlight. It looked quite more boring than the car that we got in the end. SportKa GS8. Before the StreetKa was presented, a small Roadster concept was made based on the car. The front doesn't have much difference from the original, however the rear is a completely different story. It looked very avant-garde, to say the least. Who knows, maybe it was an inspiration for the Nissan 370Z designers later on. And the SportKa Kia Touring. This is the estate version of the car, and I must admit that it looks surprisingly pretty. Overall, the Kia Touring would definitely prove itself as an extremely affordable practical family car, because theoretically it could have been even cheaper than the Fiesta, with twice the practicality. Furthermore, it seems like a 2-door estate version was also proposed. The SportKa Beauty. Now, don't be confused that it looks completely different from the car that we have. After the car was discontinued in Europe, it continued its life in Brazil as a facelifted model. It appears that the SportKa Purity kind of reintroduced the concept of the StreetKa in a new body, however, it was never sent to production. It had upgrades to the rims, color, and very well radiated the vibe of the slightly unhinged 2000s tuning scene. The SportKa Beast. Released on par with the Ka Beauty, it was meant to be a performance-looking oriented variant of the new car. Unfortunately, however, it's unclear whether it had performance upgrades. It was made in the same tuner style as the Ka Beauty. Well, that's all that I could find, so if you have something to add, feel free to write about it in the comments.